There it is.
Okay. Great. Welcome, everybody. I'm now going to call to order the December 8th, 2020 special town board meeting held via video conference. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Present.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Here.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Here.
Councilman McPartlin.
Here.
Supervisor Syed.
Here. Well, I'm working remotely, as many of you are, so I don't have my flags in the background. I do, however, have a flag on my screen that I will be reciting the pledge to, so please join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll head right into our very extensive resolution section. We have one, and that is Resolution 2020-314, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing on proposed changes to residential and commercial sewer rent rates for users in Consolidated Sewer District Number 6.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? And I just want to let everybody know that the public hearing will be open on December 22nd. There will be instructions posted to the website to submit your comments to publiccomment@nisuuna.org should you wish to have your comments read aloud during that public hearing. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. That concludes all of the town business that we have for the special town board meeting. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the special town board meeting is now adjourned. I'm going to call to order our agenda meeting for December 8th, 2020, held via video conference. The agenda meeting is now open. We're going to begin with Police and Public Safety Committee items. If we are joined by Chief Wall, Chief, you can take over your agenda item.
Yeah, I just want to discuss, I would like to hire a lateral. I know there's going to be some discussion about it. The police department, we had a retirement in September. Our staffing is low. I know that there's issues with the budget, and I have not had a chance to sit down with Supervisor Syed yet and go through the numbers. Right now, we have 2 officers that are inactive. So while they're still on our budget, I don't have those bodies. For 2021, I'm going to have to pull the traffic enforcement unit, which was a very effective unit. And the public liked that. It was effective for the traffic complaints that we got. We're having to do a lot of mandates, which is a public safety issue because we're forcing people to work 16-hour shifts. And, you know, it puts us open to liability if something happens. We need more people. You know, I mean, if we have to wait a month, I know that we have this retirement incentive, but we're still low. I mean, I have an officer out that is pregnant, so that puts my staffing even lower. But we're putting, our officers are getting tired of working so many hours because we're so short. I'm doing what I can with the schedule to try to alleviate that, but we really need another body. The officer that I'm thinking about, it would really be an asset to the department. Granted, he's starting out, he'll be at the bottom, but he comes with all kinds of experience. He's got a master's degree. He is a trainer in just about anything for police training. So I'm just asking for you to think about it, have some discussion. I'm not saying it's got to be done this month, but I'm just asking for you to think about it and think about the liability that we have going on right now.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Is there any discussion or questions on that item?
Thank you, Chief. Yes, we did discuss this at our committee, when we always do discuss staffing and mandating our officers to work. So the chief put this forward to obtain a lateral for the department. And we obviously are very much aware at the committee level of the budget and the budget constraints. And that's why, as she said, that, you know, if it's not going to be able to be done this month, possibly next month, because the incentives that the board has passed for others to retire may come to fruition, and this would be a backfill position. It's really still a backfill position, but that's up for a little discussion as far as the staffing level at the department. 28 to 29 officers right now. We're at 28. So that's something we can all, you know, think about, discuss. If any of the board members want to discuss it with myself or the chief or Ismat, as far as the financial impact, please do that. So that's all I need to say.
Yeah, I was wondering whether, you know, with the mandates, the additional hours the officers are working, how much, you know, additional that's costing us as well. So I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look at the numbers there.
I was going to try to pull that today, but I didn't have a chance with the meetings that I had today. I was going to try to pull that for tonight's meeting, but I didn't have a chance to do that today.
Okay.
It's not just the financial cost of it in overtime of mandating. It's just you're mandating someone to work. So what could possibly happen is an officer could be coming off a shift, and if someone calls in and they're unable to come into work, that officer that is on that shift then will be mandated to work another shift, and really doesn't have any option other than to he and or she has to work an additional shift. And that's something that I don't think is a good idea. Once in a while it can happen, no problem. But to do that as a normal course of business, myself and the chief don't recommend that as a good practice.
Well, and the other thing you have to think about, that officer, say he does it twice in a week, he gets into a car accident. We have to think about the liability for something like that.
Absolutely. The only thing I just want to say is that we budgeted for, I mean, the budget 2021 budget is at 29 officers, that including the police chief and the deputy chief. I sent a little table to everybody, all the council members, that states, you know, our staffing and the numbers, the salary numbers since 2017 to 2021 budgeted. In 2020 and 2019, there were 2 officers that were hired that were not budgeted. So that put a fiscal strain. Then in 2020, we were budgeted for 29, we hired 1 more. So at 2021, they are budgeted at 29. And so all I'm saying is that if we decide to hire an additional officer, that will come, that's not budgeted, and the salary and the benefits will come from the fund balance. That's it.
And I can speak to the 2 hires in 2019 and then the one in 2020. They were hires in anticipation of backfill. They did have a financial impact for however long that they were on the roster. So I think that's going to be a situation that we're going to look at in regards to this lateral, is if it's going to be a hire in anticipation of a retirement, there might be a financial impact for however long the 2 overlap, and then it will go back into the standard 29 roster, 29 person roster. So
Okay, so maybe that's why this year there is a deficit of about 73,000 in 2020. Okay, so that's the reason.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about that deficit has to do with budgeting that was done last year, when I call it voodoo budgeting. I think everybody's aware of it, and I don't know that I have to go into it. There was retirements, people's pay that was slashed in April of people that was known that they weren't retiring. And that's where that deficit comes from. But I mean, the other thing is we're not flush with 29 working officers. We've had one that has not been working, but now I have an additional one that we know is not coming back. We have an officer that's out with a shoulder injury. I have somebody that's pregnant. And if we get another injury, I mean, it's just going to be nonstop mandates. I need to be able to provide adequate public safety for the town residents.
I mean,
And
that's,
just to say that the lieutenant promotion was not budgeted for 2020 either. So it wasn't, there weren't just budgeting issues, that the lieutenant position wasn't budgeted. And when you moved up to that position, we backfilled with another officer, and I don't believe that was budgeted either. So it's kind of like, unfortunately, it's kind of like a domino effect at this point, and it's, we need to just figure out where we're going to be at.
I mean, again, if the board decides to do that, that's absolutely fine. We just, as long as, the understanding is that it will come from the fund balance. That's it. It's your decision.
Okay. It just, all I'm saying is that I need cars on the road to provide adequate public safety. That's all I'm asking about. That's it.
The chief is doing this preemptively. We tried to get into a more preemptive staffing situation as opposed to waiting for retirements, having someone retire, then hiring someone to go into the academy, that taking 8 to 9 months before we actually had an officer that we could then put into the rotation. So we started to do that, and it's sort of it ebbs and flows with the number of officers that we have. Some officers then go out on leave, and the chief is saying that right now her projections are that she's going to be even more difficult staffing situation with what she foresees right now. But she has a little bit of time, so we're bringing it to the board to bring it to their attention.
Great. Is there any further discussion on this item? Okay. We're going to move on to Highway Parks and Rec Committee items. We're going to begin with item number 2. I know Ray is not with us this evening. Rosemary, did you want to fill in for him on those items?
Yep. So on the material bids, this is something, again, that Ray does. I think Matt also. These are for items that are used in the coming year. There were bids, and so they've got that out. So it's basically authorizing them to go forward with the winning bid in terms of materials. That's item number 2. Item number 3, we talked about in finance. As well as number 4, these are licensing agreements that will provide additional revenue and benefits to the town. Number 5, we also discussed at finance, that has to do with a repayment schedule for the Niskuna Girls Softball League, who is taking on the cost of additional drainage that was not covered by the project and the money we had allocated and we had gotten from Phil Stack to complete the project. So the discussed arrangement is for the town to front the money and for girls softball to repay the town. And we are working through those terms in terms of what makes sense for all parties and how to go about doing that. We hope to have that resolved and on the agenda for our end of December meeting. And then
I got one question about softball.
Yeah.
When this project gets done, or as it's going on? Are they still going to be under a license agreement to be using the fields and paying for that during their,
Yeah, so they currently have one bill that was negotiated before my time, and I can't remember. I don't know if Alexis remembers off the top of her head how many years that goes forward.
I believe we have 3 more years left, and they pay a $2,000 license fee due honor before April 1st, which I believe had a $500 dollar increase per year. So I think we're in the ballpark of like $3,500 a year.
Right. So I think this year was 2,000. So next year it'll be 2,500 and so on and so forth. But yes, the anticipation is that will continue, Bill. And that's a good point. And that's something to, maybe clarify, Alexis, in the context of your conversations with with softball with respect to this repayment schedule for the additional work that they want to, have done to the drainage at Field 1. And then the last item is a resolution appointing a laborer. Again, this is someone who's completed their probation. And so we're just, Ray is recommending their, permanent placement. And that's it.
Great. Any discussion on those items? Okay. We'll move on to Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee items. Laura Robertson.
So number 7 is a resolution to take action on a special use permit for a restaurant located at 2207-2209 Knott Street. I know that this was a resolution before the board in November, and I know you guys weren't ready to take action on it, so it was essentially tabled to this month. We've been getting a lot of public comment on it, and I know there's some confusion out there right now that there was action to be taken on this special use permit tonight. It is scheduled for December 22nd, so there's a variety of emails out there that I will try and respond to when I have a chance, letting them know when the date is. And then I know probably Supervisor Syed, you're getting all of these as well. We'll roll them up into a big package and have them ready for that meeting. And I would say, it's a variety of both in support and against. So just a lot of public comment on it. If you guys have any questions about it, I mean, I've discussed it, at fair length at our Economic Development Committee meeting, but not all of you guys are able to make that. So I'm happy to answer any questions on it tonight if you have any.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, Laura, we can cross-check the emails. Hopefully all of the same ones that you've received, I've received. I received over 150 over the weekend. I don't know if, I'm sure my fellow council members have received in kind. Some are going to public comments or public comment, it's a singular, public comment at nishuna.org. Today, I actually spent a couple of hours replying to every single person that sent an email to me, letting them know that tonight was not the vote on the special use permit, that the vote on the special use permit is going to be December 22nd. So hopefully I was able to reach out to some of those same people that you might be reaching out to. So Laura, we can touch base tomorrow so that we're not duplicating efforts. I will say just a rough informal poll that I took on the emails that I received, 75% in favor of the project. So some really funny comments in support, some others, serious comments in support. In any case, if you have not received all of them, like Laura said, we'll compile everything into a packet so that everybody has the same comments that I've seen and that Laura's seen, that everybody will see those.
Yep. Great. In any way, anytime there's a lot of, if you have any questions, you don't have to ask me tonight, just reach out. But anybody also who has a chance can go back and watch the video on the Economic Development Committee meeting. We discussed it extensively there. So number 8 is a resolution setting various building department fees effective January 1st, 2021. This was discussed at Finance Committee, and it's in the budget. And essentially, we took a look at some of the fees that we've been charging in the building department over time. Some of them haven't been changed in 10 to 15 years. And I would say, like we kind of compared our fees to those of surrounding communities, and they're a little low. So given the current, fiscal climate, we want to make sure that we're accurately reflecting the level of service that we're providing, and that it's fair and in line with the surrounding communities that we live in. So these are, moderate increases, won't overly change any of the building permit prices, that people are used to seeing, but in total should help a little bit and be more reflective of 2021. So we have those scheduled. If anybody wants to see a matrix of what they are, I can provide it to them. And then I'm doing an 8A or B or X, which I talked about also at finance. It's kind of up to you guys if you want to do this resolution or you want to direct some other way to do it. But the resolution in 2016 accepting the Canal Corps grant money didn't specify that there's $150,000 of match from the town, which is either in kind or through cash. And through the different contracts that we've awarded over time, it's really at this point, I think it cash. So, I kind of have a plan, which I'm happy for anybody to take a look at. There's various ways to patch this thing together, but I think that the easiest and best way for finance to be able to process some of the invoices we have currently is to make sure that it's up to date in a resolution, so that if we're audited or anything, it's very clear how this grant works and what the match is, and then how we end up paying for that match we can talk about, like we talked about in finance.
Great. Any further discussion, questions, or comments on those items? Okay. We're going to move on to Public Works Committee items. Matt Yetto.
Okay, so the first one there, number 9, is just a resolution to establish the new sewer rent rates for Sewer District 6. Earlier, at the town board, a special meeting, we talked about having the public hearing coming up. This would be the vote on the fee increases following the public hearing. The increases are mainly on commercial. We only are proposing costs of basically CPI increases on the residential, and the figures are already figured into the next year's budget. 10 is very similar. It's the water rate increase as well. We did the same thing. We primarily put the burden of the increase on commercial properties, not on residential. And the residential increase would just be consistent with the CPI. It's important that we keep the CPI increases going annually, because we pay the city more for treatment, or more for treatment, and also for water. And that fee is based on a CPI index, and we in years past haven't applied that, so we've basically been falling behind every year. So doing this moving forward, we would keep from falling behind and keep from having to have large fee increases. Number 11 is a resolution that would update some fees that we currently have in the water and sewer department, and also change how we do our hydrant maintenance agreements. Right now, we have approximately 50 private fire hydrants in town, which the water and sewer department maintains. We flush, we check, we adjust, paint them, number them. And companies and commercial properties are supposed to pay us for any maintenance that we do on these hydrants. The contracts that we have, some of them are decades old, and there's really no clean way of charging them. So we flush them basically for free every year. The flushing is important because it tests them, and we know whether or not they need to be worked on. Only when we do major repairs do we ever get any money back for it. And quite honestly, usually we just have them get their contractors to do the work. This, by having the maintenance contracts renew every year, we would be able to keep track of them better, and properly compensate the town for the work that we do. It's it's a nominal fee. It's $300 per hydrant. But if they were to hire a contractor to come in and do the same work, they wouldn't even get them on site for that amount of money. It gives us peace of mind that the hydrants are maintained, the fire department's happy, the insurance companies are happy, and the property owners are happy as well. So it's a potential revenue for the town, but it's really just covering our costs. Another fee that we haven't updated since 2015, when we do a closing, the realtors call the town. We generate a letter for them to take to their closing for the final water reading. Right now, we charge $25. That doesn't even cover Chris Lachinsky's time to even do that work. So I'm proposing we increase that to $50. It's not a lot, but it would cover our costs. And then we have a service charge that we charge property owners if we are called to a house for location of a curb stop in the front. They have water coming into the house, so they don't know what it's for. They think it's a town issue, and it turns out it's not. It's a private issue. Currently, we have a $50 charge that covers the cost for the worker to go and do the work. I'm only proposing we increase it to $60. Back as recently as 2015, we didn't even have the fee. We spent our town resources on private issues. So it just helps to cover our costs. So those three are the main ones that haven't been updated in a while.
One question on that. So I had that happen at my own residence to locate the curb stop, but it took several trips. So would that just be, a one-time fee for the resident, and we'll locate it because they had to come out
Yes.
like I think 3 times actually to find my curb stop.
Yes, yeah, we only charge them for the one time, and it's not for the multiple times.
Okay. It got buried, right? So that happens, right? Gets buried.
Because yeah, and people, they hit it with their lawnmower and they don't like it, so they cover it. It's not good for them, not good for us, but it happens. So that's all I have for that, for the fees. Number 12 is a resolution that would authorize payment to HMA for paving on Mohawk Road. We had a water main break, one of their last ones on that road prior to the completion of that job. We bid the price for a unit price for paving, but the dollar amount exceeds my authority to pay it. So the final bill will be $14,518. We had the money in our 2000 line. We moved it to the paving line, so we do have money to cover that cost. And it was a result of our water main break. The paving that took place as part of the water main replacement was separate from this. They were 2 separate contracts. 13, we had to purchase valves and other appurtenances for a rehab at our Becker Street sewer pump station. I mistakenly thought that we had gotten approval for this already, but we hadn't. The total cost was $9,100. It's for a couple of check valves, a 3-way valve. It's equipment that we need. If we don't have it when we do need to do the rehab on that, we're going to have an issue because there's a long lead time on it. It's completely my mistake. I missed that. So the cost is $9,100 for that. $14 is the annual purchase of materials, chemicals, and for use by the water and sewer department at a water plant, sewer plant. It's also the lab fees that we pay. We pay independent laboratories to run samples for our water and sewer plants. The majority of the materials that we use on the water and sewer maintenance crew, valves, hydrants, repair clamps, our vendor that we contracted with last year, the low bidder, they've agreed to hold their prices this year. So there's only a handful of items that we need to go back out to bid for. And that is going to be, the bid opening will be on the 17th of December, but the majority of that is already, they locked the prices in from last year. 15 is the annual maintenance contract for the utility billing software from Harris that we use for our water and sewer bills. They held the price from last year. It's exactly the same amount. But because in last year and the year before that, they billed us 2 separate times, one for our online billing and one for the main software package. They billed us together this time, so it goes over our dollar amount for finance committee. We thought we could get it through finance, but it's actually $9,364, which puts us $364 over the finance committee approval. So that needs a resolution for that. And 16 was something that was Paul and I were working on. Paul Briggs, I don't know if he'll be ready for that, but Capel wants to utilize a town fire hydrant for their emergency water supply. That hydrant is an old hydrant. Has lead fittings on it. And if they're going to use it for drinking water, it really isn't a good use for that. So they've agreed to pay to replace that fire hydrant so they have access to that hydrant. So this would be an agreement with them, which states they'll pay for all the costs for us to have that hydrant replaced, and then also pay our time to come out and open the hydrant for them when they need it, because we don't want private companies or individuals operating our fire hydrants. So this would cover all that cost. I know we've been back and forth a few times with the agreement. And I think Paul is still working on that, but wishful thinking they were going to try to get it on for this month. Capel keeps calling me.
Hey, Pat, the reason I put this on the agenda, because I know it said that we still had some work to do, is because I understood that this was time sensitive and that it can't wait. It's preferable that we get it done this month rather than wait until January because of construction season. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay, so Paul Briggs and I can try to prioritize that for the end of the month.
Okay.
We are going to have that ready for December.
Thank you. And so because of that, because 16 was added, I would need to add another resolution, would be 17, which would be awarding the contract to the contractor that would do the hydrant, so that we're sure that we're not losing anything for this. We're just going to have a contractor do the hydrant installation, and then the bill will be directly paid by Capel. So it's cleaner that way, and it doesn't use up our resources, and we can do our work elsewhere. We'll be on site to turn valves on and off, and that's the extent of our responsibility from the town. But that cost would be $15,386 to Pollard Excavating. He's provided a price to Capel. They're happy with that. But we would be the pass through to pay that. They would pay us, and we would pay the contractor. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Are there any questions, comments, additions, or subtractions? Okay, we're going to move on to Finance and General Government Committee items, and Ismat Alam.
Thank you. Number 17 is a resolution authorizing certain budgetary modification that we just talked about in our Finance Committee meeting. Number 18 is a resolution scheduling the dates of town board meetings in 2021. Number 19 is a resolution, that's a housekeeping item, authorizing the supervisor to enter into a contract for our professional auditing services with our auditors, Cusack and Company. Number 20 is a resolution authorizing the auction and sale of certain surplus equipment for the water department, sewer department, IT department, and also the police department that we just talked about at the previous Finance Committee meetings. Number 21 is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a successor collective bargaining agreement with the Highways Union, and we will talk about it later in the executive session. Number 22 is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a retainer agreement for outside legal services with Elena Finan that we just talked about in our Finance Committee meeting. Number 23, we talked again at the Finance Committee meeting, a resolution authorizing payment to Cloud Invoice for online transaction fee for Number 24, resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a member participation renewal agreement with New York State Municipal Workers' Comp Alliance for 2021. We talked about the Finance Committee meeting. Number 25, another housekeeping item, a resolution approving an amendment to a municipal corporation agreement with New York Liquid Asset Fund, or NILAF. Once again, it's just a change in the investment manager to PMA. Number 26, a resolution amending the Town of Niskuna grievance procedure under the Americans with Disabilities Act and designating the town's ADA coordinator. And this is all I have. Any
Great.
discussion? Thank you.
Great, thank you, Isma. All right, before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I'm going to motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, subsection E and F. Subsection E is for collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law. Section F pertains to the employment history of a particular person or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now going to enter into executive session. At the conclusion of executive session, we will take up no further business and we will be adjourned for the evening. So everybody who's not joining us for executive session, have a wonderful evening. We'll see you at the December 22nd regular town board meeting.
Is there a link for the executive session, or are we staying put?
It's not. We're all going to stay on and everybody else is going to exit. And the recording will conclude.
Thank you.
And Matt Yetto, stay on for the first subject, please. And then we also need is Matt and Janet on for the first couple meetings. But Matt, you stay on for the first one, please.
Okay.